It does have 4 event handlers. One when to initialize the screen when we launch the app. 2 event handlers for the 2 buttons, remember button, click event handler, and directions button, click event handler. So let's take a look at directions button, click. It has it uses the activity starter component. So if we take a look at that first, it has a call to start activity. What is that? Okay. Activity starter, start activity, and this one is executed before we set up the value for data URI property of the activity starter. For that property, we have to say what the source and destination GPS values for latitude and longitude are. And we read them from, or we get them from the text property of current latitude label, longitude label, and same pair for remembered labels. Remember button click, direction button click, and here we have location sensor. So let's look at the location sensor first. So location sensor has handles 2 events, and we write the code for when location is changed. By that means that either the phone is going to do its first reading of GPS data, latitude, longitude, altitude, or after a certain interval, and by having the location, by the device location changed, then a new reading is done. Each time a new reading happens, then current address of the location sensor, same with latitude and longitude, set values for text properties of current address, data, latitude label, longitude label. After executing these 3 set instructions, then remember button is enabled because a change occurred, and the user then can click this button to save the information in the database and update if the button is clicked information in the remembered section of the user interface. The exercise that we want to do now is refactoring the code because of duplication of code here in screen, initialize, event handler, and remember button, click event handler. So these 4 instructions are very similar. What's different is the values that are, these 3 values that are assigned to text property of remembered labels. So instead of repeating the code, we can write a procedure and we call the procedure. So we go to built-in definition. The procedure is not going to return anything, so let's have it here. Let's call it set remember data. Remember data. We see that it takes three values. We have an address type of value, latitude type of value, longitude type of value. So let's call the arguments name, and we call it, I should move it so we can see. We can call it address data. And then the second parameter is called latitude data. And the third parameter is called longitude data. So these parameters are placeholders in which when this procedure is called, we are going to place these actual values if we make the call here, or these actual values if we make the call here. So at this point they are technically called formal parameters, and they are just placeholders that can receive various values depending on the actual arguments we pass to the call. So we are going to see how the call works after we are done with the procedure. The code is very simple. We want to do remembered address label. Do this bigger. Remembered address label dot text 2, enter, and this is going to take address data, and then the next one is going to be, it doesn't matter what case we use, remember lat label text, and it's going to be 2. Oops. And the value is going to be the second placeholder, latitude data. And the third one, if we, yeah, I think now I can say it here. Remembered long label text 2. For some reason, okay. And it's going to be the placeholder long data. Okay, so we have the procedure. So what we need to do at this point is, okay. So what we want to do is we take out, oh, and I forgot about directions button, true. Okay, so now we take out the entire block and we are going to replace it with the call, and the call is going to be 2. Let's see my definitions. No, my blocks, my definitions. Now I have the procedure. I call it, and as I said, we have to pick the correct actual argument for the call, and this one is the first, this one is the second, and this one is the third. Okay. Oops. And we want to do the same thing here. So it's going to be, so I'm not, oops, let's see, how do I do this? Take this out, take this out, put this back in. Okay, make the call. So to make the call, my definitions, this is the call. I make the call. And the three actual values are 1, 2, and 3. And at this point I can discard these 3 instructions. So what I have is using this procedure. So let's see what we have. So what we have, nicely centered. We have this procedure. It has 3 parameters. Unfortunately, they are annotated as arg, but the correct technical term is parameter or formal argument. And here we have the actual values for these parameters. So here we have the names of the parameters, and these are the actual arguments when we make the call in this case, and different values when we make the call in this case. The distinction that we have to make is between what a formal argument is. It's better to call them parameters or placeholders, and what an actual argument is. We see that here we have they look like named variables, but here they can be values from properties, they can be return values from calls, they can be very complicated expressions. Regardless of what we have, it gets evaluated to a value, and that value is assigned to into the placeholder. Okay, so this one concludes our refactoring exercise by procedural abstraction.